Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the Bhagavad Gita study circle. We are in 137th session of the Bhagavad Gita study circle, and we have covered 12 chapters. We are discussing the 13th chapter now. So there are some very nice, interesting things that are described from 13th chapter onwards. It's a philosophical discussion that is going to begin now between Arjuna and Krishna. There are some very key concepts of our existence, about our Prakriti, about God. All these different interactions between them will be very beautifully explained by Krishna to Arjuna. And this is something that will really reveal some very amazing facts about yourself. So that's why, especially in this session, we are going to dive deeper into some very important key aspects of human life. And I think if we can somehow understand these key points, it will be a great asset for us, in the sense, when we have this knowledge is a great asset. So when we have knowledge about who we truly are and what are the different things actually make or comprise us as a complete entity, that will really help us to know better about ourselves. And I think it will be also making our life more simpler, because when you know a certain aspect of yourself, then you know how to drive and play around with your own life in a way that will actually help you to progress in spiritual life, right? So it's very, very interesting. And I think today we will understand something very, very important, very key points. And I think this is the foundation. And if these are clear, these concepts are clear to us, I think spiritual life and understanding spiritual life will be very simple. So we have Hina Mataji and Dev joining us. Thank you so much. So as usual, let's begin with the pranam mantras. It will be displayed on the screen. So kindly join your palms and chant along with me the pranam mantras. Let's dedicate this session to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, and my beloved spiritual master. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौरभक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. Hare Krishna. So once again, welcome back to the Bhagavad Gita study circle. We are in 137th session of the Bhagavad Gita study circle, and we are discussing chapter number 13. So Lakshmi Mataji, thank you so much for joining online on YouTube. It's very interesting journey, and especially when Arjuna has asked something so important. He has asked 6 questions, very important questions, and that we have discussed in the previous words, that how Arjuna has asked Prakritim, Arjuna Uvacha, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva, Kshetram Kshetragnam Evacha, Etad Veditumichami, Jnanam Gneyam Cha Keshava. So he wants to understand what is Prakriti, what is Purusha, what is Kshetra, what is Kshetragna, what is Jnanam, and what is Gneyam. So these are some very key points, that very important questions Arjuna has asked. And now Bhagwan Uvacha, Krishna also started replying to him, Idam Shariram Kaunteya, Kshetram Miti Abhidhiyate, Etadyo Vettitam Prabhu, Kshetragna Iti Tadvidaha. So there was an immediate reply And the Lord is, although not in a sequential way, he is still explaining about all these different aspects that Arjuna has asked. In the third verse also, he said, Kshetragnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetragna yorjnanam yatta jnanam matam mama. He said that Kshetragnam chapi mam vidhi. I am also a Kshetragna. Kshetra is the body, Kshetragna is the soul, and Krishna says, Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. I am also a Kshetragna, but I am Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. I know everything that is happening in everybody's body and everybody's mind, right? So, this is what we had understood in the previous session. And also, like these are some 6 questions that we had briefly understood and discussed in the previous. What is prakriti, what is, and who is enjoyer, or what is kshetra, what is kshetragna, what is jnanam, and what is gneyam. So prakriti is this material nature. Moment we say prakriti, then who is enjoying or who actually created this prakriti? I have my nature, you have your nature. Then when we say about this nature, then whose nature is this? It should belong to someone. So moment we say nature, it is actually indicating to someone who is possessing that nature. So that is the purusha. What is kshetra? Yes, this is the body, the kshetra. Kshetragna, the knower of the kshetra is the atma. Then what is jnanam? Knowledge, not just knowledge, but transcendental knowledge. Then gneyam is the goal of knowledge. Because many times we acquire a lot of knowledge, but what is the goal of that knowledge? Right? So these are the different questions that Arjuna has asked. So now let us understand from verse number 4 something very, very important. So, Hina Mataji, you can unmute yourself and let's chant the fourth verse. So this is a very important verse. Takshetram yachat yadrakcha
तत्क्षेत्रं यच्च यादृक् च
vikari yatascha yat
यद्विकारी यतश्च यत्
sachayo yat prabhavascha
स च यो यत् प्रभावश्च
tatsamasena me shunu.
तत् समासेन मे शृणु.
Once again, takshetram yaccha yadrakcha
तत्क्षेत्रं यच्च यादृक् च
yadvikari yatascha yat
यद्विकारी यतश्च यत्
sachayo yat prabhavascha
स च यो यत् प्रभावश्च
tatsamasena me shunu.
तत्समासेन मे शृणु.
Wonderful. Please read the translation.
Now, please hear my brief description of this field of activity and how it is constituted, what its changes are, whence it is produced, who has that knower of the field of activities is, and what his influences are. Hare Krishna.
Next. So this is a very interesting thing. And Arjuna has asked questions. Krishna is saying, I will now explain to you briefly about what is the this field of activity, this kshetra, this body is a kshetra. What is the field of this activity and how it is constituted? See, many, many times we are so much involving in sense gratification. We are so much absorbed in this body. But how much do we really know about this body, this kshetra? Many times it gives us some pleasure and pain. But why is it happening and how is it happening? How much control do we really have over this kshetra? We have no clue. And also, what is it constituted? Many people don't even know the constitution of this body. So, Krishna is saying, you try to understand what is the constitution and also understand how it is produced. And who is that knower of this body? So, in this understanding, especially in this purport of this particular shloka, Prabhupada is also explaining that how we cannot equate a kshetragna to the sarva kshetragna. So we cannot equate a living entity, jivatma, to a paramatma. See, paramatma is supreme. Jivatma is a knower, but he's a minute knower. So we cannot equate an Atma to the Paramatma. Many people have this misunderstanding that okay, there is matter, but there is a Atma, and that Atma, when it understands that I'm not the matter, I actually become that supreme. No, we do not become the supreme, but we become the subordinates of the supreme. There is no question of, see, if at all we were supreme, then there is no question of we coming to this material existence. We could have been supreme all the time, but now we are not supreme. We become supreme. No, we do not become supreme. Supreme is supreme eternally, all the time. At any given point of time, the Lord is Lord. It's not that today I'm God and tomorrow I'll fall down and I'll become something else, less of God. No, it's not like that. God is always God. He is never conditioned. So, and we also, we cannot become God. So there is, it's like equating a potent person with an important person. Prabhupada explains this in the purpose. Comparing a potent person to an important person. So Jivatma, we cannot produce like the Lord produces. We can produce a little bit of gold and jewelry, but we cannot create the gold mines. It is not possible, right? So this Kshetra, actually this verse is what Prabhupada Krishna is saying is, you please understand the compositions of this body, what it constitutes, and also the vikaras. The vikaras means the transformations of this body. So we should know what is the constituents. At the same time, we should know what are the transformations of this body. Now, but before we know this, Prabhupada is also explaining we should know the differences between matter, spirit, and the super spirit. This is very important because if we don't know these differences between the three, then we may get confused. So we should know very clearly there is a difference between matter, spirit, and the super spirit. It's very essential. Now, with this, Arjuna is being given more information that we will cover in the next verse. Dev, you unmute yourself. Let's chant the fifth verse also. Okay. So, in the fifth verse, this is very important. Rishibir Bahuda Gitam. Let me check if it is unmute. Yeah, Dev, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Rishibir Bahuda Gitam.
ऋषिभिर् बहुधा गीतम्
Chandobhir Vividhai Pratak.
छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक्
Brahmasutra
ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव
हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः.
हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः
Again, ऋषिभिर्बहुधा गीतम्
ऋषिभिर्बहुधा गीतम्
छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक्
छन्दो छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक्
ब्रह्मसूत्रपदश्चैव
ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव
हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः.
हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः.
Wonderful. Please read the translation.
Yes. That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in the Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect. Correct.
Yeah. So very interesting. See now what Krishna is saying, that all these different activities or that is happening within the body and the constituents of the body is already explained by the rishis. Rishibir Bahuda Gitam. So the ancient sages, they not just studied the Vedas, but they also experienced, they visualized, they had the realization of all these different Vedic mantras. So they actually saw those mantras live. Each Vedic mantra was, seen by these sages live in the sense they had realized it. So now, Krishna, although the supreme personality, he is the one who actually gives us the Vedas. He could have actually told Arjuna that, look, I'm telling you, and you listen to me, and this is what is happening within the Kshetra and the constituents of the Kshetra and the different fields of activities. Krishna could have actually told that this is listen to me, I'm giving you the knowledge. But no, you see how Krishna is respecting the parampara. Krishna, although the Supreme Lord, he is actually respecting the parampara and saying that Rishibir Bahuda Gitam. He's saying that all the sages have said in the past. That means how important this parampara is. Following the parampara is so important that even Krishna respects it. In the fourth chapter, also Krishna has said, Evam parampara praptam imam rajasya viduhu. Right? So, see, every time we should know that knowledge is a descending process. It cannot be acquired by us. So, it has to be given to us. Right? So that is why we should accept it in parampara. When we don't accept Vedic knowledge in parampara, then we will be thoroughly confused and we will concoct and speculate. And unfortunately, with that understanding and our perception, we want to give that knowledge to others. And we may actually mislead people. So that is why understanding the Vedas in parampara is essential, and Krishna is stressing this. Just see, Rishibir Bahuda Gitam. So these parampara means what? Parampara means the conclusion of the Vedas is unchanged by the rishis. Now, according to time, place, and circumstances, a rishi, a particular sage, may actually, give some nice examples and analogies based on the time, place, circumstances. Now, there was no chance that Jiva Goswami or Sanatan Goswami could have given examples of mobile phones and tablets and internet. No, the times have changed. The society has changed, right? The culture has slightly changed. Now, because this has changed, we should not think that people of this generation should not think that, oh, the people in the past were, unintelligent, they were not so developed, they did not have the understanding that we have. No, that is wrong. Now, they may have presented it in a different way as per their time, place, and circumstances, and we need to present our Vedic conclusions in such a way that today's people, they can understand with respect to today's time, place, and circumstances. And that's exactly what Prabhupada has done. Prabhupada explained to us, he gave this conclusion of the Vedas, of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Srimad Bhagavatam in such a way that people of this generation can understand. Otherwise, it is so very difficult. Can you just imagine, people in the West trying to understand the Vedic sutras, Vedanta sutras? Extremely difficult, not so easy. It's not so easy. And the Vedanta Sutra is not a single understanding. It has many, many layers of understanding. Just the Vedas alone, there is uh, so much of explanations. There are the six systems of Vedic philosophy, right? The Shat Darshanas, they are called, the Shat Darshanas. So, what are these Shat Darshanas? As per our Vedic traditions, there are six systems of philosophies. One is Nyaya. Nyaya means the philosophy of logic and reasoning. So, if you want to know this world about yourself, there is a lot of logic and reasoning. It is not some speculation, but it is fully equipped with logic and reasoning. So that's why when we speak with authority, Nyaya is important. So there is a system of Nyaya. Vaisheshika, there is another system of Vedic knowledge where you understand the atomic theory. Now, atomic theory is also given in our schools, and we have understood a little bit of, Dalton's atomic theory, the Bohr atomic theory, and many such atomic theories we have studied. But to some extent they are right, to some extent they are confused. So this Vedic atomic theory goes, it's absolute knowledge. It doesn't change. Like these atomic theories that we have studied, they are constantly changing. They don't know really what is atom, and they don't know the actual characteristics of atom. There are so many new things that keeps coming, right? But Vedic atomic theory is perfect. Then Sankhya is the non-theistic dualism. Means what? Non-theistic means there is theism means belief in God, but this is an analytical study of ourselves and God. Analytical study. There is no concept of God, but there is analytical study of oneself. So that is Sankhya. Of course, there is atheistic Sankhya, there is a non-atheistic Sankhya. The Kapil Dev in the Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, he explains about the Sankhya philosophy. That means understanding the oneself and God through Sankhya. Means there are 24 elements in this whole creation, in the Prakriti. Understanding the Lord and oneself through these 24 elements is called Sankhya philosophy. It's very deep study, but to some extent we will try to understand today. Then there is yoga, Patanjali's yoga. So, what is yoga? It is about self discipline and self realization. That is what yoga is referred to, and it is supposed to be also. But today, it's only referred to as one exercise or something useful for the health. But it is beyond that. Then, karma mimamsa. Now, we can elevate ourselves through performing the right karma, the proper karma. That is very, very important. So, it is very important that how even karma can actually lead us to perfection. Then Vedanta. Now, this is the last Vedanta Sutra, is the final conclusion of the Vedas. And that is given by Vyasadeva to us. Now, when Krishna is actually talking to us within this, he is talking about the Brahma Sutra. In this verse, Krishna explained about the Brahma Sutra, right? That Brahma Sutra and Vedanta Sutra, there is no difference. There is no difference between Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutra, this word was coined by Madhvacharya. The Madhvacharya used this word Brahma Sutra. What is this Brahma Sutra? Because Brahma Sutra explains about the Brahman in a very logical way, that's why it is called Brahma Sutra. When Prabhupada, in that same context, when he uses this Brahma Sutra, he actually says that this is Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra and Brahma Sutra, they are non-different. Vedanta Sutra is the same as Brahma Sutra. So, what is this Vedanta? Veda means knowledge, and Vedanta means what? It is end of knowledge. Vedanta Sutra means end of knowledge. Now, to know that end of knowledge, Vedanta, in a form which is very formulated. Sutra means, it is a formula. So, understanding the Vedanta through formula is called a Vedanta Sutra. Just see. So now our main thing is these are the six systems of philosophy. That is what Krishna has said. Brahma Sutra, Rishibir, they have analyzed the Brahma Sutras. So there are six systems of philosophy. Now the Brahma Sutras, they establish, like I told you, they establish the presence of Krishna. They establish the supremacy of Krishna through logic, right? This is very important. Now, when we want to understand all these Vedanta Sutra, who is the source of all these? Who has compiled? Vedivyasa. Now, Vedivyasa is not ordinary person. He is the Shaktya Vesha Avatara of Krishna. The Vedvyasa, Krishna Dvaipayana Krishna, is none other than Supreme Lord. And he has come in this form as Krishna Dvaipayana Krishna, Vedivyasa, to give us this Vedic knowledge. And who is his father? His father is Parashara Muni. And Parashara Muni also is a great sage. And he has written amazing books on astrology and many books on religiosity. And Parashara Muni also says, Aham Tvam Cha Tathanye, which means that you, I, and we all of us, we are transcendental to this material bodies. We are in this material bodies, but our nature is transcendental. So now we are transcendental, then what is this material body? Why are we identifying ourselves with this material body? Like last time I was giving you that analogy, right, in the last session, that how is subconscious mind we are actually identifying with so many external things, and we have the sense of security because constantly we see those external environments around us, and moment that external environment is gone, then there is fear. You lose your identity. So do you really lose your identity? No, we don't lose an identity. We have an identity, a permanent identity. And because we don't know our permanent identity, we are hanging on to these false identities. I am a man, I am a woman, I am an Indian, I'm a sports person, I'm a housewife, I'm this and that, and so many false identities we have created. So now this is the core understanding that we want to know. Who are we then? We are talking about Kshetra. Now, Kshetra means the moment we know this Kshetra, it has to have an identity. Now, we have so many identities imposed. So we should know in detail about this. Right? So this Kshetra we should know today. This Kshetra is very important. Because without knowing the Kshetra, we cannot know who we are. It's important to know our body also, and that's extremely important. Now, what causes this false identities? Ignorance, right? So we have to come out of ignorance. And coming out of ignorance means to discuss about the true realities. To this understanding of proper knowledge is important. Then ignorance is gone. In Taittiriya Upanishad, there is something very important explained, and Prabhupada gives us a hint here about the five koshas. Prabhupada in the purport is explaining about the five koshas. And in Taittiriya Upanishad, it is mentioned that Annam Pranaha Manabuddhir Anandaha iti panchate koshattai avriti swatma vismritya samsmritim vrajet. Which means that this human body comprises of different layers. There are different layers of existence, or there are different to our existence. There are different coverings, there are different sheets that we should know. Very important. There are different layers. What are those different layers? Now, the outermost layer is called Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha. Now, in the same Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a conversation between Bhrugumuni and Varunadev. Now, Bhrugumuni, he asked Varunadev that, please help me understand what is the fundamental element of this whole creation. What is the fundamental element? Then Varuna says, you please go and do some tapasya. Tapas. Tapas means inner search. You research. Bhrugumuni goes and then he does little tapasya. And when he does tapasya and comes back and he says that the fundamental existence, I mean the fundamental element which is the cause of all the existence is Anna. Anna means matter, not the food Anna. That is also matter. But Anna means matter. The whole thing that we see around us is created in matter and is maintained in matter and destroyed in matter. That was his conclusion. So Varuna says, yes, that's a good thing. You have understood at least one layer of your existence. So that everything is matter is called Annamaya Kosha. Now, Kosha means it's a covering, a layer. Basically, if you see a child, a small baby, if you look at the baby, for the baby, the whole world is potential food. You give the baby anything, anything you give a mobile, it will put it in the mouth. You give one nice candy, it will put it in the mouth. Give a toy, it will put it in the mouth. Everything that you give, it will put it in the mouth. Why? Because Annamaya Kosha. It is fully absorbed in that material existence, physical body. Its consciousness is fully absorbed in matter. Right? So Annamaya Kosha. When we all were babies, we were like that. We were fully absorbed in Annamaya Kosha. We had nothing else. Whatever you give us, we will eat it. We'll put it in the mouth. That is Annamaya Kosha. How it is sustained, this Annamaya Kosha, it is sustained and nourished by our food, the physical matter that we eat, the food that we eat. Of course, prasadam is not matter, but the regular food which people eat outside, they eat Anna. What is that Anna? Is nothing but matter. When they eat that matter, this physical body, which is also matter, is nourished and maintained. This is Annamaya Kosha. So, this Annamaya Kosha is the most grossest part of our existence. Annamaya is the Panchabhutas. It is made up of Panchabhuta. It is basically, if you see, it is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. These five elements comprises this Annamaya Kosha. Our body is made up of these five elements, right? So, the food we consume nourishes this earth, water, fire, air, ether, everything. This body is maintained through this. And our modern science also, if you see the modern science, they also want to understand this. Actually, they have, to some extent, explained the intricacies of this kosha very nicely, this Annamaya kosha. Because in search of matter, uh, actually it is very simple. See, understanding matter because it is, you can see, you can touch, you can feel. That's why modern science has developed so much on this Annamaya Kosha only. The whole universe is made up of matter for them. So understanding the matter which is perceivable through our five senses, that's why they are able to do a lot of research and development. Why? Because it is very easy, because it's something that you can perceive. All the different packets of energy that you see in terms of molecules, atoms, protons, neutrons, electrons, you know, and different combinations, permutations of these multiple packets of chemicals, joining together, and then seeing the chemical composition of the minute molecules, cells, tissues, organs, all these in small, small ways. Somehow it's easy to define for them. They are absorbed in Annamaya Kosha. So they try to understand the laws governing the Annamaya Kosha. What are the different laws? Physical laws, chemical laws, biological laws, right? So all these different things, when they understand, Annamaya Kosha becomes very easy for them to understand. That's why we are able to perceive things. So much of medical research is happening. So much of science technology is developing in different fields. All this is because our whole existence is absorbed in Annamaya Kosha. See, this is how this Annamaya Kosha is a physical framework, most grossest thing that we can actually understand. Very important. Next, what is after this Annamaya Kosha is also very important. Now, Annamaya Kosha, now like I told you, Annamaya Kosha has these five elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Now, these five elements also, it is mentioned in the Bhagavatam, they have five subtle characteristics. Now, this is very mind blowing, and you should know also. See how beautiful the whole design is. Now, there are five elements, right? Now, ether is nothing but space, the space. And space, it has a subtle element called sound, Shabda. It's a object, it's a sense object. What is that Shabda? Shabda means sound. Now, in space, there is sound, element of sound. Actually, I had told this earlier also, that how Akasha is a storehouse of all information. It is actually a amazing hard drive that captures everybody's activities, all the actions and everything that you've spoken, everything that you've seen is mentioned and it's captured in the ether, Akasha Tattva. It is Akasha Tattva. Akasha Tattva captures everything, and it has a basic amazing characteristic called sound, Shabda. There is sound in Shabda. Now, NASA also recently, they say that how in space they hear certain sounds, because space has sound in itself. It is comprised of sound. The next, ether space is the subtlest element among the five. Now, next to ether is air. Air. Air, हवा जो बोलते हैं ना हम लोग, हवा. हवा has two things. It has sound, it has touch. The sensation of touch comes because of there is air. Please try to understand this. Now, when you switch on a fan, when there is fan, when the blades rotate, it makes sound. Why it makes sound? Because air intrinsically has sound. And plus touch, the sensation of touch, somebody is touching you. How you get the sensation of touch? Because there is air within your body. If there is no air within your body, then you lose the sensation of touch. If vayu is gone, you will not have any sensation of touch. Because there is air within the body, we are getting the sensation of touch. Then there is fire, Agni. You touch your body, you have some temperature, there is Agni, fire. Now, what is that fire? Fire has sound. Actually, when fire, is blazing, it creates certain sound. When you, especially during Yagna, when devotees are performing Yagna, fire also creates sound. It has sound within it, but along with sound, it is having the sensation of touch also. Because if you touch fire, it will burn. So that means it has the characteristics of touch. It also has form. You have this form: two hands, two legs, your face is in a certain form, nose, eyes, ears, all these different forms. You have a form. Who is giving this form? The fire is giving you the form. Because there is fire within you, that Agni gives us this form. We will lose our form. We will become shapeless if there is no fire. You see, fire has shapes, different shapes it assumes, right? So Because there is fire within a dog, it has a certain form. It has a certain form of a cat, a buffalo, a tiger, elephant. All these have their forms because there is fire within. If there is no fire, we cannot assume forms. So fire is there, gives us form. Then water element has, it has sound. You take a you open the tap. When a tap opens, a drop of water falls in a bucket of water, and when it falls, it makes tipping, that sound it makes, right? Why? Because water intrinsically has sound in it, and you can touch water, you can have the sensation. Then form is there. The best thing is the water can take any form. You take anything, it'll take a certain form. You put it in a glass of water, jug, mug, everything, it'll take that form. It take assumed form. And then taste. Fire, there is no taste in fire, but water has taste. Whenever you eat anything nice, anything tasty, that is because of the water content. Because there is water within your body and in that substance, that's why there is taste. So taste comes because of water is there in our body, right? Then earth. Earth is the bhumi tattva. So it has sound. You know, I know when I clap, what happens? Earth is hitting earth, it creates sound. So that means there is sound. There is sound within it. So there is sound and it is touching. There is a sensation of touch in earth because there is the whole body is made up of earth. Then there is form. It has a form. Earth has a certain form because you take a mud of a clay and you can give it any shape, right? So it has form also. Taste. You take a mud. Krishna also used to eat mud. You also must have in your childhood must have eaten mud. Why we eat mud? Because we like mud, the taste of the mud. Children, they eat mud, right? This taste in that. And there is also smell. Now smell is not there in water, it is not there in fire, it is not there in air, it is not there in ether, but it is there in earth. Smell is there. That's why when it rains, it gives you that fragrance, right? So the point here is each of these elements which are there within this body, and our body, the kshetra, is constituted. This kshetra is constituted by these five elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. And moment you say earth, water, fire, air, ether, it also comes with these subtle elements. That means, in one sense, there is one common thing. Dave, what is the common thing between all these five elements? Can you say? What is the common thing? Of all these five elements, there is something common. What is that, Hina Mataji?
Ether.
No, ether is element. Ether, air, fire, water, air, and all these have something in common.
Sound, Prabhuji.
Exactly. Now, if you carefully see, sound is present in each of these elements. That means our whole existence, that means our body, in one sense, has a lot of sound element. There's so much of sound. So when you chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, now what happens is Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is a spiritual sound vibration. But now we listen to FM radios, we listen to movies, and we listen to web series and this and that and all these mundane Bollywood songs. And because you listen to the material, mundane Bollywood songs, then what happens is because we are listening to material songs, we are getting bound more and more to this body. But what Hare Krishna Mahamantra does is, it is also sound, but that sound actually frees you from this earth, water, fire, air, ether and brings you to the higher level. That is what Hare Krishna Mahamantra does. So sound is very important aspect of our life. In fact, you can say that your existence, your whole existence is in one sense made up of sound. Even your thought. Now, what these five elements are actually the gross elements, but which this comprises your gross body, but you have a mind. What is the function of the mind? To create and generate thoughts. What is the thought? A thought is nothing but sound. It is the chatter that is going on within us, right? It is also a sound vibration. So the point is that this kshetra is very, very powerful. It has all these different things. You're able to experience sound, touch, form. I mean, you're getting certain shapes. You have the sense of taste and smell. All this because the panchabhutas are there within the body. Just see the arrangement of the Lord. Kind of experience that Krishna is giving us, as if so real. Is it? Isn't it? It is so real, Actually, it is not. It is temporary. It is real, but it is temporary. And we get so enamored by these. So, so now, if we at all want to understand and get some pleasure out of this body, see, if you want to experience certain pleasure in this body, you need to have all these five elements. Without these five elements, you cannot experience pleasure in this body also. The dogs and the cats and the elephants and everybody else, we are experiencing certain physical pleasures because of these five elements. If you take out of these five elements, gone. You will have no pleasure at all. It will be so dry. We'll become like, the ghost. Ghost doesn't have this physical body. And they so much are in trouble. I'll tell you, people who are roaming as ghosts now, they have a miserable life because they want to eat a gulab jamun and the gulab jamun is right before them and they cannot taste it because they don't have earth, water, fire, air, ether. The body, this the gross body is not there. And because it is not there, they cannot touch it, they cannot smell it, they cannot taste it. And what a miserable condition it is. Right? You're getting the point? So this is how this Kshetra is made up of, comprised of. We should know this is science. This is a deep science. Very important science. We should know about it. So then this is Annamaya Kosha. Now, if you tell someone who is so absorbed in material things, absorbed in material things means absorbed in Annamaya Kosha. If you tell him that, oh, Radha Krishna, gopis, they were nicely enjoying in the forest, because he's so materially absorbed in Annamaya Kosha, and if you tell him something which is so high that is Anandamaya Kosha, he will think that, oh, that Krishna, he performed all the Leela. How is it different from me? Just like I am enjoying, he is also enjoying. This is how they will understand. Because his understanding is limited to Annamaya Kosha. So, this is how people have no clear understanding about what is spiritual life. They have no understanding what is spiritual life. Please know. Because they are so absorbed in Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha, why? Because they are only thinking about eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Children are playing with toys, and these days adults are playing with all mobile phones and gadgets. They are also toys. It's just that, there are little different types of toys. That's all. So then comes the very important thing, and that is Pranamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha. Now, there is Annamaya Kosha, then there is the next layer. So, outermost layer is Annamaya Kosha. The next layer below it is Pranamaya Kosha. Now, if you look at a child, which is about 5 years to 10 years, they are bubbling with energy, so much of energy. They have so much energy. You ask them in a group of uh, students which are in this age group. If you tell them, go get me a glass of water, all 10 people will run to get a glass of water. They are so energetic. Everyone will go because Pranamaya Kosha, there is so much of prana. Now, this Pranamaya Kosha, what is this Pranamaya Kosha? Before we understand the 5 types of Pranamaya Kosha, you should know that this prana, this vital energy, which is there, prana, is not the gross electromagnetic energy. That's not the electromagnetic spectrum that we have. In the modern science, they talk about this electromagnetic theories and the waves emerging from the body. No, prana is not that gross. Prana is a very subtle thing. And this prana is actually the fabric of our construction of this body or this universe. You can say prana is very important. In one of the Upanishad called Prashna Upanishad, it is said that how all that is present in the three worlds is directed by prana. It's like the mother protects her children, and that is how exactly the prana protects all of us through this knowledge. The prana is very important. If prana goes out of this body, the body will thup, it will fall down. The prana is the life force. So the life force is, although many scientists say that, the prana is because we are existing, we are alive because of the heartbeat. But why the heartbeat is there? Heartbeat is there because there is prana. And why there is prana? Because the presence of the soul. So this prana, and by the way, soul resides in the heart region. So the prana is pumped. It moves throughout the body. That, and it is amazingly, it flows in such a way that this whole annamaya kosha, that is get energized. Our body, the physical body, gets energized through prana, and we remain alive and healthy because of this prana. The moment prana goes, we are dead, right? Now, how do these prana, this uh, flows into this body? It is very interesting. Wherever, whatever activity we are doing, the prana moves to that organ very specifically. Now, example, when I'm speaking, my whole prana force, the force of prana, is moving towards my tongue, because there is so much of activity happening. My prana moves there, it flows there. Because you are hearing, your all prana is moving to the ears, because you want to capture as much as you possible. When you're eating, your prana goes to that level of chewing and all those things. So whatever activity you're doing physically, your prana moves there and energizes that. So that is how it happens. Prana moves. And how does it flows? It flows through very subtle nadis. There are nadis, nadi pariksha they do. People, if you go to certain doctors, earlier they used to do, they just do nadi pariksha. Even now, if you go to the Ayurvedic doctors, they test your nadis, not the physical nadis, but there are also subtle nadis. There are 72,000 subtle nadis are there. So those, through the nadis, the prana flows through different portions of our body, different parts of our body. So now, this is the understanding of pranamaya kosha. We have a complete layer where we are energized through this prana. Now, within this pranamaya or this prana, there are five types of airs. Prana is the life force. There are five categories which are called panch prana. Why they are called panch prana? Because they have different functions, right? Now, in like Lakshmi Mata, in deep meditation, we can feel the flow of blood like a mild water stream. So, just give me a minute, please give me a minute. Sorry for that interruption. I had some important call to take. So, yeah, where was I? Now there is the panch pranas. We are talking about the panch pranas, right? So the panch prana is the five types of subtle airs. This is explained in the second chapter also. Prabhupada explains one of the purpose about these five types of prana. What are those? Apana, prana, udana, samana, and vyana. So apana means it is a life force, or it's a life air which helps us to push certain unwanted elements downwards. The downward movements created in our body, like our malamutra visarjana that we do, urination and ejaculation and defecation and menstruation, all this happens because of there is apana. There is a downward force. This is a force which pushes things downwards. So that is apana force. Then there is prana. Now prana is responsible for breathing movements. Like we breathe in, breathe out. Because there is breathing and breathing out, that is happening because there is prana within. It actually helps us to uh, breathe in and out in through this lungs. So prana helps us in breathing. The udana is responsible for upward movements, like when you vomit. That vomiting means, you have to bring certain things from your downward of the body, your belly, and then bring it to the mouth. How does it happen? It's not simply some automatic thing that happens. Everything is designed. So there is udana, there is air that pushes things upwards. So that udana pushes outside and brings things outside. Then there is samana. It is basically it keeps the balance between prana and apana, and it helps in digestion. It digests everything that you put it in the mouth. Everything is digested properly. Then there is vyana. Now vyana, this is a air, that's a kind of air which is responsible for all the different impulses, the nerve impulses, the blood circulation, and the cellular activity in all the cells. All these different things are taken care within the body by this Vyana. So just see how many things are happening in the Kshetra. The Kshetra itself is so complicated. People dedicate their whole life, doctors, you see, their whole life dedicating for understanding only one tooth. How this, formation of tooth is there, how the formation of this eye and the retina and all these things. People spend their whole life studying and still they don't understand completely. Recently, I went to the doctor, an eye checkup, gradual, because there was some redness after coming from Jagannath Puri. Somehow I developed this redness in the eye. And I went to the doctor and he saw it and everything. He asked me so many symptoms. I said, no, everything is fine. My vision is fine. My no itching sensation. There is nothing, no secretion that is happening. Everything is fine. But still redness is there. Then he said, actually, the cause is very difficult to know. We don't know the cause, but I'll give you the solution. And the solution worked for me also. It was some allergy. But I'm saying the exact cause is very difficult to understand. The body is so complicated. We don't know everything that we want to know. It's very difficult. Kshetra, there is so much details. Just see, the pancha pranas are working day in and out for us to digest the food, for us to, go to the bathroom and clear off our bellies and stomach and everything. So many functions are happening, and what a design it is. And still, we say that there is no God. People say that there is no God. Such an intricate design. So there is Pancha Prana. This is Pranamaya Kosha, right? So Pranamaya Kosha, it gives a lot of energy, lot of, they're full of, especially the children in the age group of 5 to 10, they are amazing. They have high levels of prana. The next comes is the very important, that is Manomaya Kosha. So now in Manomaya Kosha, now if you see in the this whole manaha, it's a sheet, it's a layer, and in that layer there are many things. So this aspect of Manomaya Kosha, is where one's personality is carried, or it is something that uh, it gives us perception about one's personality. It has, we are all have a certain personality. We have a personality because it is based on our perception, how we perceive the world. Each one of us, we don't perceive the world in the same way that the other person is actually perceiving. Our perceptions are different. Why? Because our mana, the layer, our manomaya kosha is different at different levels. So perceptions, we have certain perceptions of this world. It is all because of the manomaya kosha. Now, in this manomaya kosha, there are three things. There is manaha, there is chittaha, and there is ahankaraha. Now, manaha means the mind, chittaha is the memory, and ahankara is the false ego. Now, what does the mana does? The manaha means it is in this manomaya kosha. When we come to this aspect of manomaya kosha, mana, it is a part which receives the sensation from our five senses. So we have the five senses: eyes, ears, nose, touch, skin, right? All these things we have. So when a sense object comes and touches the senses, there is a signal that goes. So that signal is gathered through by the five senses. Then it goes and forms a certain understanding. That the capture of that signal is done by manaha through these five senses. That is manaha. Then there is chitta. Chitta means memory. So when the signal goes to manaha, the mana receives the signal from the five senses. Then the chitta analyzes, oh, this is the same red rose that I had seen earlier. Oh, it is so amazing. This red rose is so beautiful. So it understands that this is a different type of red rose I had seen. It's a rose, but it's a very beautiful red rose. So that is chitta. It is uh, Chitta is like your storehouse of all the samskaras, impressions. It is there deep within. All the impressions are there within your memory. So you get a signal, you compare that signal, and then there is ahankara. Ahankara means it's a sense of I-ness. It belongs to me. The faculty of identity is called ahankara. You have that sense of I-ness is because of that ahankara is there within you. Now, now what happens is these impressions are there. When you see those impressions in the chitta, the ahankara will say, oh yes, this particular thing belongs to me. It is identifying with that and says that now it is me, it belongs to me, this body belongs to me, the rose belongs to me. So this is called Dehatma Buddhi. Dehatma Buddhi means it is ahankara, but false ahankara. So manaha, chitta, and ahankara. How quickly this is rotating within. When this Dehatma Buddhi is created, it creates a bhavana, a feeling. When there is a sensation, the signal is received, then there is comparison in the chitta, and then there is a strong desire of identity. When you identify, and all this happening in all nanoseconds, when all this happens, it creates bhavana, emotions. And that's why when you see a certain aspect, certain object, certain emotions are created, bhavana is created. So all this is through the sense organs, and when we see and understand, uh, we perceive a certain flower like a beautiful flower. All this is happening because it's so subtle. It's so subtle. So like, dislike, love, hatred, uh, then joy, distress, all these different feelings are coming because your manakosha, manomaya kosha is active. If you see sometimes the children also, in the children, especially in the age group of 10 to 12, their manomaya kosha is very active. Small babies, annamaya kosha is active. 5 to 10, your other pranamaya kosha is active. And this 10 to 12, no, this manomaya kosha is too active in children. If you tell that, you give a little chocolate to your one of the siblings, and the small child gets, the other one will say, the older one will say, oh, you love only, that my son, my sister, you love only my brother, you don't love me only. They're very touchy feely, you know because that manomaya kosha is there, so active in them, that you tell a little thing and they take it to the heart. So children are like that in that age group. So manomaya kosha is very active there. So they identify with certain things, and that becomes a manomaya kosha. Then there is next level, and this is after manomaya kosha is vijnanamaya kosha. So vijnanamaya kosha is see, mana is creating a thought, right? Bhavana. There is a feeling. But in vijnanamaya kosha, it is not that the rose, oh yes, belongs to me, but in Vijnanamaya Kosha, that is a fourth layer. You think that, oh, actually I like this flower, I love this flower, but what to do? It doesn't belong to me, it belongs to the neighbor. So that discretion is there. And this Vijnanamaya Kosha is what actually differentiates us and animals. Right? Because sometimes we have two minds. The two minds, we say, oh, I'm in two minds. Two minds mean what? There are no two minds. One is the mind, one is the intelligence. One is telling you, I like it. The other is telling what is right and what is wrong. Mind will say, mind is all about like and dislike. But intelligence is, Vijnanamaya Kosha, intelligence is what is right. So we are supposed to do what is right, not what I like. Right? So that is very important. Many times the dharma sankat comes. Many times there are temptations in so many ways. We like to do something, but is it right? If your Vijnanamaya Kosha is not developed, then you will just go and do something which you like, but it may not be right. Everything that you like may not be right all the time. So that's why Vijnanamaya Kosha comes into place. We need to develop our Vijnanamaya Kosha. Otherwise, we'll fall prey to temptations. Very important, right? So it says Vijnanamaya Kosha, it doesn't belong to me. The flower is not belonging to me. This component, when it is fully developed, then we are human beings. Otherwise, we are animals. And I'm not saying this. This is the sages are saying. There is one sage called Bhartuhari. Bhartuhari says, he says, Ahara nidra bhayamaytunancha samanyetat samanyametat pashubi naranam buddhihi tesham adhiko vishesha buddhir vihina pashubi samanaha. So, buddhi is what? Your Vijnanamaya Kosha is what makes us different from animals. But buddhir vihina, if you don't have buddhi, then pashubi samana. We are as good as animals. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. This is done anyway by the animals also. There is Manomaya Kosha also in the dogs. You see, when the dog sees the owner, it like flaps and so happily it goes around. Why? Because there is Manomaya Kosha, so active. But Vijnanamaya Kosha is not there. They don't have that discriminating faculty like we do. They have to some extent, but not to the extent that we have. When it comes to eating, sleeping, meeting, depending, they also discriminate. Oh, if you give a stale bread to us, we may eat it. But the dog, we will not even know that it is stale. But dog, when it smells, the bread, it will come to know, this is not good. It is a stale food. But we will not be human being will simply eat. We don't have that much of discretion, but animals have. But the animals have discretion only in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Right? So, Vijnanamaya Kosha should make us human beings, and we should have it. We should definitely develop this. So, when we completely, then finally come to this level of Vijnanamaya Kosha, now Vijnanamaya Kosha, it consists of these five, our knowledge acquiring senses. These eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, all these things are our knowledge acquiring senses, right? So, this it is called as the freedom element, so it is inbuilt within human beings, and it actually guides us to discriminate between right and wrong, something that is useful and non-useful, because we should not look for temporary happiness. We should look beyond that. So generally, when you look at people after 15 years, after 20 years in their life, when they come to after teenage, when they start growing up, Vijnanamaya Kosha develops slowly. And when they reach about 40 years, 45 years, Vijnanamaya Kosha, if they are really surrounded by good people, then sages and saintly people, then Vijnanamaya Kosha develops even more, because you start inquiring about the fundamental questions of life. So, Atato Brahma Jignasa will begin. So, that is Vijnanamaya Kosha. We should actually go. See, we have to develop ourselves through this Vijnanamaya Kosha and look for permanent happiness. Why am I constantly getting distress in life, stress in life? It's all because we are so absorbed in Manomaya Kosha. I'll tell you one thing. Actually, Vasishtha Muni says that any long hankerings within our mind, they're called adis, and when they're not fulfilled, it's kind of adi means stress. When that adi is not fulfilled and it is staying in our chitta for a long time, then it percolates down to Annamaya Kosha. From uh, Manomaya to Pranamaya, Pranamaya to Manomaya, it actually percolates. And then that adi becomes vyadi. Vyadi means disease. That's why there are so many psychosomatic diseases today. Why? Because in the mind, there are so many unfulfilled desires, unfulfilled intentions, and so many things which are lying there for a long duration of time. And people go into stress. Oh, my, this thing is not going, I'm not getting this property thing issue solved. And for many years it goes on, that causes stress. And that stress percolates down to Manomaya to Pranamaya, Pranamaya to Annamaya Kosha. And people get heart disease and diabetes and all these things. See, this is all interconnected. I'm just telling you Kshetra. This is about Kshetra. We are understanding the Kshetra now, which is formation of these five koshas, right? So analyze these things. Please think about these things. It's important. And then Anandamaya Kosha. This is the fifth layer, Anandamaya Kosha. Now, this is uh, the fundamental need of everybody, and that is what? Irrespective of who we are, black, white, rich, poor, without an exception, we are all looking for happiness. And that is because we want to be happy. As a soul, our nature is to be happy. Anandamaya Kosha. But are we really achieving that Anandamaya state? Are we achieving that? We are not achieving because we are so stuck. We are so stuck with the lower natures, the layers below. We are not able to come to this level all the time. Sometimes when we chant Hare Krishna mantra deeply and fully focused way, we actually experience Anandamaya Kosha to some extent. But we want to remain blissful all the time, right? So that's why Anandamaya Kosha has to be experienced, and it comes when we are in that deep spiritual connect with Krishna. We have to be in connect with Him all the time. So our existence, when it is fully in a subtle form, in service of the Lord, when we are loving the Lord, and when we are completely in harmony with perfect health, then that is gives us Anandamaya Kosha. We come to that state. It is free from all mental and physical diseases, no stress at all. So that is why Anandamaya Kosha, it's a journey to reach that state of Anandamaya. It's a journey for all of us. So we should come to that point. It's a highest stage of evolution that we can actually reach, all of us, and it's possible, very much possible. And so self-realized souls, Prabhupada, and so many great devotees, his followers, and many, many in the parampara, they have all reached that state of Anandamaya. We all have to reach that state of Anandamaya. So we because that's our nature. To be happy is our nature, the soul's nature. But then we are so stuck up. We are so stuck up with lower natures that we are not able to understand why we are so distressed, right? So can there be a possibility that we actually uh, come out of these five different sheets and gradually progress to the topmost level, to the innermost level? When we say topmost level, the innermost level. Now we are so external. We are getting deriving happiness externally. So can we derive it internally? That's the question. That's very important. So, and from Annamaya, we have to move to Pranamaya. Then we need to go to Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and then Anandamaya. Then we will be happy, without a doubt. So much is there to know about the Kshetra. Just see. This is Kshetra. If this is about Kshetra, then how much more is to know about the self, the Atma, the characteristics. So, it's a science. It's a science. This is, like I told you, 13th chapter onwards will be philosophical. It is going to be philosophical because this jnana will cut off all our unwanted strings with all these different layers that we have. We need to actually come out of these layers, unwanted layers, all these panchakoshas which are there right now. We need to actually come out of this. That is viveka. That is how, when we come out of these different layers, we are called buddhiman. We become devotees. Otherwise, it's just not possible. Just not possible. So let us become more focused. Let us become very tuned. Let us tune ourselves. And I'll tell you one thing: the easiest way, Kali Yuga, the process is made very simple to all of us. To reach Anandamaya, you need to cut through all these different layers, right? And that is possible through the spiritual sound vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Because this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it penetrates through Annamaya, through Pranamaya, through Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. It gives us full clarity of what is our true identity. Because we don't know our true identity, we are in a big problem. We are messing up with our life. The moment we know our true identity as spirit soul, that will give us true happiness. That is Ananda. And that is given to us in Kali Yuga by the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So it's a process. When Prabhupada is saying chant Hare Krishna mantra, it's not simply like that. Like I told you, why it is so scientific? It is because we are right now having this physical body. The mind is having the whole existence in one sense is made up of sound. So replace this material sound and bring spiritual sound vibration. Self-realization becomes very easy. Very, very easy. That's why it's so powerful. Hare Krishna mantra is so powerful. Now you getting the importance. Probably you're understanding the importance of Hare Krishna mantra. When you analyze, no, like this, step by step, our body, our mind, it gives us so much of clarity. Oh, this is what is happening. Moment you get a certain feeling, you should know that yes, this is the activity in the mind. There is my chitta, there is that mana, and there is all these impressions coming, and then my ahankara is saying this belongs to me. So you know that whenever there is a certain feeling now coming into you, you know why that feeling is coming to you, because there is impressions, past impressions. Those this Anandamaya Kosha, it has a lot of this pre-vasana in our consciousness. Anandamaya Kosha is a consciousness which is a symptom of the soul, right? In our consciousness there are a lot of these uh, uh, vasanas which are there right now. It has to be removed one by one, then automatically we'll become free. So I wanted to cover the next two verses also, but I think this itself took quite some time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, so we can discuss in detail, but this is actually very important.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji, very nice. We got a good insight into things. And I had heard this that, the entire creation was created from sound.
yes,
So now I understand why it is said like that.
yes. Actually, in the next verses also we'll try to understand more in detail about that, because the 24 elements are there. Now what happens is the creation is made up of Mahat Tattva. Mahat Tattva is the summum bonum of all the material energy. All these earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false, ego. Then there is the three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. All these put together is constituted or is called as Mahat Tattva. So Mahat Tattva is the sum total of all material energy. So when we say that Krishna looks or glances at this material energy, Mahat Tattva, it gets agitated. And then that is when we get agitated and the material creation begins. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada also explains that it is not just the glance. When Prabhupada is saying that when intelligently directed sound vibrations, they interact with the Mahatattva, that is when the agitation begins. So the sound actually is the source of creation. That because it is the source of creation, in every material element, whether it is earth, whether it is fire, whether it is mind, whether it is buddhi, or whether it is ahankara, or the three gunas, every, whether subtle or gross elements, it has the element of sound in it. There is no existence, nothing in this world which is devoid of sound. Nothing exists without sound. Sound is there. So sound is a fundamental element for this creation. So that's why we have to get attached to Hare Krishna mantra, spiritual sound vibration. Because that spiritual sound vibration is not a product of this material world. It is the product of the spiritual world. Now, if you are listening only to the Bollywood songs and the FM radio constantly and all the chatter that goes on in the news channels, then what is happening is we get absorbed more and more to this material universe. You want to get out of this material universe. So if you want to get out of the material universe, there should be someone from outside who will pick you up and take you there. So what will take you there? The sound vibration, which is coming from that spiritual world. That will help you to come out of these different layers. Otherwise, we'll get stuck here. And that's how people are so absorbed. Why, when people, you see anybody who is listening to all this FM radios and all these news channels and more of all these things, right? It is only making them materialistic more and more. They only reside in the material platform, Annamaya Kosha. They're only thinking about how can I eat, how can I sleep, all these things only, all related to Annamaya Kosha. They cannot think beyond. You tell them go and talk about spirituality, they cannot, because they are so absorbed in that kosha. So first you need to give them prasadam, because gross, no, prasadam is so gross, they can eat it. So you give them that. That's how Prabhupada is so intelligent. You went to the Western world. What did you do? Eat prasadam. Give them prasadam. Because they are so much absorbed in Annamaya Kosha. Give them. And from Annamaya, Prabhupada brought them to Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and of course Anandamaya. This is the process. Intelligently, we have to do it. So spiritual life is a science. So every day when you look into your life, you see which layer are you in now? Where are you right now? So it's very important when you dissect yourself or ourselves. When we dissect like this, our existence, oh my God, this whole gamut of things that is coming out now. There's so much that we don't know within ourselves, right? So that is how it is. So, any questions? Good. So, if you have understood and you have liked this session, you can share with others also, because who knows? Probably there is someone who is waiting, and it might inspire them to know more about these things. And this is a new section that we have started, so people might actually would like to know many more things about themselves, so they might get connected. So, thank you so much for joining. Thank you, Lakshmi Mataji. Thank you, Hina Mataji. Thank you, Dev. So we'll meet again in the next session and discuss more, because there is so much more to explain and understand about this existence and also the whole creation, right? Kshetra and Kshetrajna. Please take care. We'll meet again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. It was a wonderful session, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.